So Justin Trudeau has appointed a new Minister of Science. Her name is Kirsty Duncan. And according to the media party, she's got a Nobel Prize. And you know it's accurate because Global News, they made these collectible trading cards like kids have for their sports heroes with different liberals on it, though. And you can see right there the Global News trading card for Kirsty Duncan says, quote, has a Nobel Prize as part of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And why wouldn't they say that? I mean, they're real journalists. They're good at research and things like that. Here's an old version of Kirsty Duncan's own Facebook page. And there you see it, Nobel Prize. I mean, the woman would never lie about something like that. So she's super smart. I mean, thank God, what a refreshing change from the anti-science Neanderthals and Stephen Harper's conservatives. Finally, we'll have evidence-based policymaking again. Like, I don't know, helping patients with multiple sclerosis. I mean, listen to Dr. Duncan, she's a doctor, listen to Dr. Duncan talk about a promising new therapy for MS.
This study looked at neurosteroids allow the brain cells to communicate with each other. They're probably involved in repair. And they found in MS patients, they're depressed. And if they were increased, would it reverse the symptoms? And so it looks like there will be a clinical trial in the works. I can't comment on how that would affect the government's position. All I can say is I'm going to continue to advocate on behalf of this. I've done the science, I've seen the results, I've tracked over 400 patients who've had the procedure here in Canada, and I'm going to fight very hard in order to get my bill passed, and we have a similar one in the Senate.
Wow, she's smart, and as the media keeps telling us, she's a doctor. I wonder what all that neurosteroid stuff means. I don't know, I'm not that smart about science. Oh well, the trading card says she's a Nobel Prize winner, and so does her Facebook page, and I really shouldn't question the trading cards. Well, she's brilliant, we know that. I mean, Justin Trudeau just appointed her to cabinet. It's amazing to me that one woman can know so much about so many things, and for so many years promoting true science. Like here in 2012, years ago, she was meeting with the famous Dr. Zamboni. No, not the guy who invented the truck that clears off hockey rinks, the guy who discovered a cure for multiple sclerosis. I mean, she was way ahead of the curve by meeting him. They became sort of friends, and he sent her his research years ago from one doctor to another. Quote, Dr. Zamboni, grazie mille. A pleasure to hear from you. We continue to fight for the science to be done in Canada. Sending my best wishes. Finally, a doctor, a Nobel Prize winner who fights for science, for evidence-based policies, not Harper's anti-science agenda. And just last year, here's Kirsty Duncan tweeting again. Dr. Zamboni, thank you very much for sharing this research. I wish you a beautiful day. She's brilliant. She's beautiful, of course, a Nobel Prize winning doctor, cutting edge of research. And you heard her in that interview. She tracks 400 patients. Oh my God. And she's in touch with Zamboni. Just super smart. And that's not even what she teaches. She teaches global warming in a university. And look, even as a public advocate with the media. Take a listen.
You are trying to evade your responsibility on what you can do on climate change. You want to blame it on everybody else.
You don't know me. What if we just do nothing?
If we do nothing, we could be in real trouble. By 2050, every second day could potentially be a smog day. I'm a marathon runner and not be able to climb.
You don't need to brag. I'm not parading my achievements around.
You gotta wait, John.
I made my own jeans in high school.
That's terrific. John, we're doing terrible damage to the planet.
Oh, okay, hang on there. I think she might have just misspoken there. I mean, everyone knows that smog is not carbon dioxide or CO2. If the world emits more carbon dioxide, that's got nothing to do with smog. Carbon dioxide is a colorless, odorless gas that's naturally occurring. The plants breathe in and humans breathe out. Smog is particulate pollution. It's flakes of things. It's like dust and smoke. I think she probably just misspoke there. I mean, it happens to me all the time. Let's watch some more of the video.
Even if we were to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 70% today, our planet is still going to warm by 2100 by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. That's enough to bring on an ice age.
Say what? If the Earth warms, it will bring on an ice age if the Earth warms? Wouldn't that take us out of an ice age? Isn't that sort of the definition? I don't get it. Maybe it was just that show. I mean, I think that was a comedy show, so there you go. I'd ignore that. I mean, she's serious. She's a serious scientist who did real research. I mean, for example, she did real research on the 1918 flu virus. Here's what she did. She led a mission to dig up frozen corpses from a graveyard in the Arctic where the virus would have been frozen, to study the virus. A very prestigious London newspaper called The Independent flew up there with her, spent days with her. They'd have a better read on her. Here, let me quote from The Independent. Quote, "For 5 long days, we had Kirsty Duncan talking endlessly about her hurts, hopes, and fears at the graveyard. Kirsty Duncan wearing a short skirt, latex leggings, sexy suede and high heels at the graveyard. Kirsty Duncan in tears at the graveyard. Kirsty Duncan laying a wreath and demanding a minute's silence at the graveyard. What are we going to do next?" joked a cameraman. Kirsty Duncan carrying the Olympic torch? Okay, hang on. So she's a little off balance, maybe? A little bit of a media hound? Maybe a little bit of an exaggerator? Yeah, I think so. You know that Nobel Prize? Well, the Nobel Prize Committee says Kirsty Duncan has never received one. She was one of literally hundreds of people who reviewed a document for the UN panel on global warming called the IPCC. Now that panel won the Nobel Prize jointly with Al Gore, but Kirsty Duncan never did, any more than, say, a secretary at the UN did or the pizza delivery boys did. Her Facebook boast was just not true. She really did get enthused with Dr. Zamboni's research, though. I mean, that has been near universally discredited, though. I won't call Dr. Zamboni a hoaxer. I'll just say this. He gives false hope to deeply sick people, but Dr. Duncan seems to have been convinced by his pitch. But what about those 400 patients that Dr. Duncan follows up on? You saw the video. Well, I don't quite know how she would have access to 400 patients' records because, you see, she's not a medical doctor. That doctor thing, it's a PhD in geography, not in medicine. She doesn't have an MD. Medicine's a bit tougher, I'm guessing. Or if it's not tougher, it's probably necessary anyways to have a medical degree before making decisions about multiple sclerosis in 2015, maybe even making decisions about influenza viruses in a 1918 graveyard. Carbon dioxide does not cause smog. Global warming does not cause an ice age. The woman is a huckster, an exaggerator. Let me read again from that story in the London Independent. The author of the story came from a science background. Her father was a scientist who worked with Kirsty Duncan. Here, let me quote. "So started an affair, a fax and telephone which lasted too long, according to Gillian Oxford, my mother. Meals were interrupted, evenings disappeared, workdays were filled with constant messages, calls and faxes, all of which featured touchy-feely words such as overwhelming, truly, deep. Your father and I were excited by one another," said Duncan, wistfully picking up another cashew and gazing out of the window. "I liked his enthusiasm for the project specifically, but also his enthusiasm for life in general. During that time, Dr. Duncan separated from her husband and called my father in tears," unquote. I won't go on, but clearly this is a woman of science, isn't it? A serious woman. Maybe not a doctor, or at least a real doctor, certainly not a Nobel Prize winner or anyone to be trusted on multiple sclerosis. I doubt she has seen 400 patient files. I doubt that would even be legal, but I don't know. What I do know is that she is Justin Trudeau's pick for Minister of Science. She is the woman Trudeau is trusting to bring real research back to Canada and to stop the politicization of science. And you know, to someone who knows as little as Justin Trudeau, I think she's the perfect fit. Don't you? For the Rebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.